Hello, Cheapskaters. I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing, and it has been for the last 20 years. And this is a super special show tonight. Cheapskates is 20 years old. 20 years old. We better get some housekeeping out of the way. If you'd like to join the live chat, you need to be logged into your YouTube channel or your Gmail account. Now, if you don't have either of those, it's not a problem. You can leave a comment in the comments section below me here, and I'll see them after the show. And just a reminder to please put your questions in all capital letters so they stand out from the general chat. The chat flies by really, really quickly, and sometimes it is so hard to keep track of it and pick the questions out. So if they're all in capitals, they sort of have a better chance of being found. And as usual, I will do my best to answer them at the end of the show if I can't do it during the show. So, wow, 20 years, guys. It's really quite amazing, 20 years. One more thing, I just thought of it then before we get started. We'll do it at the beginning, then we don't have to worry about it because I will forget. I'm so excited about tonight. But if you could please give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, click on the subscribe button and then on the bell, and you'll be notified every time we go live or upload a new video. And I think that's all the housekeeping for today, and too bad if it's not. Doesn't matter, does it? It is Tuesday, the 3rd of August, 2021, and we are going to have so much fun tonight. Every time I think about it, I'm just going, oh, wow, 20 years. It doesn't feel like 20 years. It really doesn't. And I can tell you that I had no idea 20 years ago when I happily told Wayne that I had a website, that 20 years later, I'd still have the website, let alone one with the amazing community that we have. I had no idea how Cheapskates would change our lives. I had no idea how it would just about take over my life. And 20 years ago, if you'd told me that I'd write and publish books, that I wouldn't blink at being interviewed for television or radio, that I'd speak at conferences in front of thousands of people, I would have laughed at you. No, I would have laughed at you. It would have been hilarious to me because I was shy. I'm still a bit shy. I'm not an out there type person. I can talk to you guys because we're friends, but I don't do well with strangers. I'm shy, and I'm a bit of a pretty private person too. You know, I used to shake if it was my turn to make the announcements at church, and I grew up in that church, so I knew everybody. Didn't like it. Anyway, what a difference 20 years makes. What a difference a job that you absolutely love makes. Because it has changed me a lot. Now, you know, 20 years ago, if you told me that sharing the day disaster struck and how it affected us would help others, I'd have smiled at you, nodded, and quietly in my own little mind thought you were nuts, completely and utterly bonkers. So it's been 20 years. I keep saying 20 years because I really, I knew it was coming up. I've been planning for it, and then it hit me. And one of the comments over on Cheapskates Chatter was, no, time flies. Well, it does. It really does. Our children have grown up with Cheapskates. Or perhaps Cheapskates have grown up with our children, I'm not sure. I asked Hannah this afternoon. She can't actually remember Life BC before Cheapskates. She was only little when I took the plunge and started Cheapskates Club. She'd just started school, which was why I felt I had the time to be able to devote to it. But over the last 20 years, my life has been enriched in so many ways, and they all have names. It's you guys. I've made so many lifelong friends through this journey. 20 years ago, I was the weird one in the family. I was the one with the wacky ideas who was, living very differently and who frankly wasn't embarrassed by it. I was quite proud of what I was doing. And way back then, I was pretty sure I was the only person in Australia with these weird and wonderful ideas. I was the only person in Australia who was, living really well the champagne lifestyle on the, water budget. It wasn't even a beer budget. It was a water budget. I didn't know anyone else who washed and reused the foil or who carefully wiped and dried the cling wrap, and I did. I would peel it off the bowls, wipe it, peg it up to dry and reuse it. Plastic bags, washed, dried, reused until they fell apart. I still do that. I didn't know another living soul who made their own washing powder. It has been, wow, quite the journey, because when our website went live in May 2001, and it went live on a subdomain because back then I didn't have the money to buy a domain name of my own. I actually didn't have the money to pay for our website. I was working it off, and I loved doing that. It taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot over the years. Little old me, who is technologically incompetent. If you've ever seen me try to use the remote control for the TV or even my phone, I can make calls, I can answer calls, I can SMS, send texts now. That's about the limit of what I can do on my phone. I really do suffer with technology. It just goes straight over my head, guys. So for me, having a website was just mind-blowing. Having one that I could manage myself still amazes me. Absolutely still amazes me. We've had highlights and lowlights. We've had fun. We've had tears and tantrums, mostly mine. I've had stalkers. I've been abused. I've been spat on. I was in Burke Street Mall one day and got spat on. Someone didn't like me. That's okay. There was a chemist around the corner in Elizabeth Street, and we just got some wipes and some antiseptic, cleaned it all off and went back to work. It's been interesting, all the things that have happened to us. And of course, in that time, I've done workshops. Never ever thought I'd do those. I've travelled all over Australia by myself. Never ever thought I'd do that. So many things have happened. But the highlights have been winning awards. I was Micro Business of the Year in 2005. That was pretty exciting. I've spoken at different conferences, CPA conferences and small business conferences all over Australia, just sharing how we live the Cheapskates way, how we've managed to live debt-free, cashed up and laughing, and encouraging other people to do that too. Because if we can do it, anyone can do it. It's not easy. I didn't say it was easy, but if we can do it, anyone can do it. So all sorts of things. Now, oh, there's lots of comments. Gosh. Okay, let me see. Because it's going to be a bit of a different show. I have to tell you some of the funny things that have happened. The stalker story was hilarious. I was shopping with my mum, so this was a few years ago, and she had her trolley and I had my trolley, and we're going up. And as we're going up the aisle of the supermarket, there was a lady coming the other way, and she nodded and smiled. And so I nodded and smiled back, and Mum nodded and smiled back, and we kept passing in the aisles. She was always going the opposite way to us. And I just assumed it was someone Mum knew that she had forgotten she knew. So we get to the checkout and we put our trolleys there, and we're standing, as you do on a busy Thursday, standing in the supermarket, twiddling your thumbs, waiting to put stuff on the bench. And this lady came up behind me and didn't say anything. She just smiled and nodded, and so I smiled and nodded. And then Mum said something to me, and this woman, she just let out this squeal, and she was, it is you, I knew it was you, I thought it was you. And I was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I had no idea who she was. She was gorgeous. She was so nice. She was a Cheapskates Club member. She'd seen current affair segments and whatever, and she recognised me. But of course, I didn't know her. I didn't recognise her. When she mentioned her name, it sort of clicked. But oh my goodness, it was the funniest thing. So that's happened a few times. I've been somewhere, I was on a plane, a man came and sat down next to me, as you do, sitting there, and I'm not very chatty on planes. I tend to get out a book or do some work or something. Anyway, he said hello, and I said hello, and he goes, you're Kath Armstrong, aren't you? And I, yeah, yes, I am. Said, oh, we love you. We've got your book, blah, blah, blah. So, it's a whole hour to Sydney. Didn't get any work done. I didn't get to read my book, but I think I made a friend. It was a nice conversation to have with someone. So that has been something that I never thought would happen to me. I certainly 20 years ago, I would never have dreamt it, and I would never have dreamt not being bothered by people recognising me anymore, unless, of course, I'm throwing a tantrum, in which case I might be bothered, and that does happen occasionally. I do get a bit cross. So things like that have been really good fun too. And then there's been stories and the people I've met through the stories that we've done. Family with mum, dad, and a couple of kids, and we did a Christmas story with them, and it was so much fun because we got to go shopping and we bought decorations for the house, and we got a Christmas tree, and then we got presents for the kids, and then we got some, then we went and did the food shopping for all the Christmas treats. And for this particular family, I was just about in tears at the end because they had been really struggling for a long time, and their Christmas wasn't going to look anything like what it ended up being. So that was a really nice story to do, and I really enjoyed doing that. And there was the other one where we had a young fellow, and he wanted to buy his first apartment. He was in Port Melbourne, so we had to sort of break it to him very gently that on his budget, he wouldn't be able to afford to live in Port Melbourne, but we could move him out a bit further. And we saw him get into his first home. That was really exciting too. So many things. Hearing about how people have paid off their mortgages or how they've cleared the credit cards, how they've been able to go on a family holiday for the first time ever. These things have all been highlights for me. And on the worst day, getting an email or contact us that says, we're off to Kakadu, or we're going to New Zealand and taking our kids skiing because we can, because we've we are debt free and we've saved up for it and we own our holiday just makes my heart sing. I am so thrilled for those people, for those families, for the mums, the dads, the kids. It's amazing. So I have a pretty good work life. I do a job that I like most of the time. Sometimes I don't like it. I'm not real fussed on the bookwork, but we'll get over that. I really enjoy what I do, but I really enjoy hearing your stories more and hearing from you guys and what you're doing and how you're managing it, because I'm still learning. Just like you, I am still learning. There is still a lot of information out there that I can use to live Cheapskates way. So I need a cup of tea. I've been talking for a long time. All right, now, did I see Paula? If she's still here, hello. If she's not, hello on the replay. And Barb, if Barb's still here, hello, Kerry and Beverly. Kerry, why are you trying to stay out of hospital? Goodness me, everyone's sick. I'm trying to stay out of trouble. And Michelle, Deb, Jenny, Alicia. Well, I'm glad you're here, Alicia. It's really nice. It's nice if you can catch the live, but it's, get the replay. Then you can watch us at your convenience, and you can always leave a comment underneath if you're watching the replay. Hello, Yvonne, Julie, Simone, Delaney, and Glennis. Okay, and Joy, Jules, Catherine, Yvonne. Oh, 11 years. Congratulations, Yvonne. 11 years. And you've stuck with us that long. That's really good. Hello, Annette. Here's Joy. Joy's made washing liquid for 35 years. I think I might have already told you, I used to make it wasn't liquid, it was more like goop, gludge, sludge, something. And I do it in the nappy bucket. And in those days, our laundry was outside. And I do it in the nappy bucket, put the lid on, and I lost, the first time I went out and there were the boys playing in it, and it was everywhere. And you can imagine a nappy bucket full of soap, slimy soap, just goes everywhere, and it's almost impossible to clean up. But they had fun. They really enjoyed it. Cleaned it all up, made another batch. And a few weeks later, the same thing happened. So that's when I sat down and I nutted out the basic recipe for the powder and experimented for a few batches to see which one worked best. And the current one that we use is the one that worked best for me all those years ago. Still using it now, and I haven't had to clean up goop ever since. If you want the recipe, there's a washing liquid and a washing laundry liquid and a laundry goop recipe, as well as the Cheapskates washing powder in the laundry tip store. In fact, there might be a couple of different versions of the goopy one. It was around for a long, long time. Julie. Hello, Barbara. I don't know that I'm an inspiration, Julie, but thank you. Perhaps I'm more the motivator, oh my goodness, is this how I'm going to turn out? We'll just keep going. We've had loads of fun. So, okay. Hello, Maureen. Hello, Trish. Oh, please, look, you know what? Rotten things happen all the time. So you can either turn up your toes, put your thumb in your mouth, sit in the corner and sulk, or you can go, rotten things happen all the time. So it's happened, let's move on. I think I choose to say it's happened, let's move on. There've been a couple of times I've wanted to sit in the corner and suck my thumb, but for the most part, I'm human. For the most part, it's like, it's done, can't change history, let's move on. We can't change history, we can only change the future, let's move on. And I try and do that. I tell people, if you don't like what I'm saying, that's fine. You don't have to. We still, for the most part, live in a free country. We're allowed to make up our own minds. So if you don't like what I say or you don't like what I do, then ignore it. It doesn't matter. If there's something in it that you can take to make it work for you, feel free. I'm happy to share. I don't mind sharing. But if it's not going to work for you, there's no point whining at me and saying, well, that's not going to work for me. Move on. Say to me, that's not going to work for me. Do you have another idea? Do you have another suggestion? Is there something else I can do? Then I might be able to help you. But just whining at me, nah. Spitting at me, nah. I have to be honest, that day was for Christmas, just before Christmas. So the Burke Street Mall was really, really packed. We were outside Myer. The mall was packed. There were people everywhere. And I was actually just sort of standing aside and listening. There was a busker and I was listening to him and his Christmas carols. So I wasn't actually really doing anything active at the time. I was waiting for a crew to arrive. And they sort of walked up one side as this man walked down the other side, and he stopped and he looked at me and abused me and spat at me and kept walking. And the guys in the crew were mortified. They were horrified. And I was like, well, you know what? He got my clothes. He didn't get me. So let's go. And we went around the corner and got it fixed up and it was fine. It happens. It could have been worse. And worse things happen to people every day. So if that's the worst thing that happens to me, we can live with it. What does Maureen say? Oh, Maureen, I remember that day. We've got a photo. I have a photo of you and Wendy and I together. And yeah, Maureen was very excited. Hyperventilating being in the same room. That's hilarious. No. And see, now Maureen knows me really, really well. And she's like, what was I nervous about? There's nothing to be nervous about. Okay. It was, I think that was the day I met Joy too. And Pamela might have been at that workshop too. Oh, it's a very good day and met so many lovely people over the years. Hello, Veronica. Hello, Judy. Up early this morning. Oh, sorry. Outback 6. Carol, Suzanne. Oh, okay, Kerry, that's no good. Happy birthday. Look, do you know what? Oh, it's your 19th wedding anniversary today. Congratulations, Kerry. Happy anniversary. As I was thinking about and doing the 20th birthday thing, I'm thinking, would I really want to be 20 again? Yes, no, maybe no, don't want to be 20 again. It was a long time ago. Don't need to be 20 again. So, all right. Not everyone, Beverly. Look, you know what? People have different attitudes. But anyway, so over the last 20 years, we've done workshops. I've travelled all over the country. I've written books and published books. I've had a mental block. I've revamped our website. We're now on, I think, our 4th reincarnation, for want of another word, of our website. Our first website, way back in 2001, compared to what we've got today, it was basic. But back then, it was a $26,000 website back then. It was just the bee's knees in 2001. To look at it today, it would be no, I don't even know if it would work today. It's just, I don't think it would. But it was amazing. And that was a lot of fun, learning how to code, learning how to write for the web, because writing for the web is very, very different from writing for reading, as in a book or a newsletter, a newspaper or something. It's very, very different. Learning search engine optimization. It opened up so many opportunities for me, because after a couple of years, I was actually offered a job running workshops for search engine optimization. So that was a lot of fun too. It was a lot of fun helping other people get their websites up and running. You'll have to wait and see what's coming. We've got stuff coming all month, because I'm going to spread it out, guys. Over 20 years. I can see myself doing this for the next 20 years too, because I really enjoy it. And I know I talk about retiring, but I can do this anywhere I can get an internet connection. So, and to me, it's not work. It's fun. It's not work. It's not stressful. It's not. It doesn't get me down. Does it get me tired? Yeah, sometimes I get really, really tired, but I still really enjoy what I do. And perhaps it's not so much what you see on the website for members, particularly they go into the Member Centre, and there's still lots in there, but it's the one-on-one that I do when I'm talking to people and they ask a question and then I answer it and we go backwards and forwards and find a solution. That's what I really, really enjoy. I really, really enjoy that. And that's probably a bit that you don't see. For the most people, don't see that part of the job, which it's not really a job. It's a way of life now, because like I said, I can work anywhere I have internet connection. So for a very long time, I didn't take holidays. This was a 24/7, 365-day a year job. I didn't take holidays. I was always available. The last few years I've wised up and I do take holidays. And that's probably because once our kids grew up and didn't need us, they were all legal adults, so we're off. We took off and started doing things for ourselves. And so I think most of you know, when we go away, we usually go bush. We go off the beaten track. You know, we're off grid pretty much, so we have to be self-contained. So usually where we go, there's no phone, no internet. So I need, to be able to do that. And I can do that now because technology's changed so much and there's so many more things that allow that to happen. All right. And Julie says, so glad you're going to do this for another 20 years. Oh, no, look, do you know what? What's that verse in Ecclesiastes? There's nothing new under the sun. It's probably not. It's just reinvented, revamped, recycled, repurposed. If you remember the basics, you're pretty right forever, I think. Anyway. So, yeah. Now, what have we got coming up? Well, next week, I wanted to do it this week and I couldn't get it to work, technology. I had a surprise for you, so you'll have to wait till next Tuesday. We have some different things coming up. At the moment, we're doing a membership sale, $20 for new memberships. But if you're already a member, don't panic. I haven't forgotten you. I would never do that. There is something coming your way too. So don't worry about it. You will be notified that you have something good coming your way by the end of the week. I'm just finalising it. So that's for members, existing members, because you can't join as a new member. You already have a membership. So new memberships are $20. 20th anniversary, $20 memberships, I figured. And that was our first special for the month. We've got other things planned and I will be rolling them out. I'm going to drip feed them to you and torment you all month. Whole of August is going to be I wish they were my stamp sets, Kerry. The whole of August, I'm going to drip feed stuff out to you. So keep your eyes out, website, Facebook, on Cheapskates Chatter, in the newsletter, here on our shows, and they'll all be coming up. Joy likes surprises. I hope you like this one, Joy. Kerry, they're not all mine. I wish they were, but they're not. That's all right. They're just piled up behind me. They all get used though, which is why they're there. That's what I've been doing in my spare time, guys. I had a request for Christmas cards for a charity and they wanted as many as I could get. So I sent off 120 last week and I've got another 100 and I think it's about 130 that I can send off this week. So that in my spare time, my downtime, I've been making Christmas cards, just basic Christmas cards using whatever I've got. If I've got any here I can show you. I moved them all off before I set up the camera. Haven't got any here to show you. I'll post some on Facebook. So that's something that Cheapskates has allowed me to do. Remember when I said we didn't have the money, I couldn't even buy my own domain name. I had to use a subdomain. And with Cheapskates, it's given me an income. But the income, someone asked me if I was a millionaire, I wish. My goal with Cheapskates has always to be to have it pay for itself. It has to pay for itself. That means it has to cover all the running costs, all the bits and pieces that are involved with it. If it can do that, I'm thrilled. And you may have noticed sometimes I have to put the price up of membership up, but then I can drop it back when we get to a level where it's paying for itself. I drop membership back. I don't. I'm not in it to make a fortune. I know someone's going to complain about that. I'm not in it to make a fortune. I'm in it because I know what it's like to have no money. I know what it's like to really struggle and to want to be able to find something out and not be able to because it costs money. I know that. And that's why we keep membership as low as we can. And as long as the website's paying for itself, it'll stay that way forever, for the next 20 years. But one of the things that has given me the ability to do is if there ever is excess money at the end of a year, it goes to a charity. And I just pass it on. I have a couple of different things I like to support that I wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have Cheapskates. So that's another really good thing that's happened for me personally from it. So If we have a card day, yeah, Joy, if we can have a card day, would be great. Kerry, how many grapefruits do you have? Kerry, we need ideas for Kerry to use up grapefruits. Now, okay, I found somewhere, I saw somewhere, someone sent me a link just recently about using grapefruits to make quinine. Now, I had a quick look at it and then saved it somewhere. So I'll have to find it for you, Kerry. But I have terrible, terrible nerve pain in my feet and now my hands. And the doctor suggested that I drink tonic water because it has quinine in it, and the quinine helps settle down the nerve pain. So that's how I got sent this link to make quinine from grapefruits. So I don't have any grapefruits at the moment, so I saved it, but I'll find it and send it to you. Joy says marmalade, candied grapefruit, cordial. Save the peels, and you can, okay. This works with oranges too, guys. Cut them in half, scoop out the flesh and eat it or whatever. But save your peel, so you've got a cup, like what a half an orange looks like, or a half a grapefruit. You can then use it to make mosquito candles for outside. It will release the grapefruit oil. They won't like it. They'll go away. It will smell divine while it's burning. And once it's finished, well, just bin it. You can't dig it into the compost unless you use a really natural wax, and they're really expensive. And with your oranges, this is something we used to do when I was a kid. Half an orange, eat the orange out, then crack an egg into the orange cup and sit it in an egg ring in a pan. And you sit it in the egg ring so it doesn't wobble around, and put some water in and poach it. And poach the egg in the orange skin. Really, really, sounds weird. Really nice flavour. Really, really nice flavour. I learnt to do that, I would have been 10, maybe 11 perhaps, when we started doing that for oranges. And you can do orange candles too if you have a whole heap of oranges. Just wick. When I'm doing candles, I get the wick and I usually dip it about, I was going to say that much is about 2 inches, 2.5 inches in wax a few times. Do a few layers of that and then get a big soft blob of it on the bottom and use that to hold it in place in the base while you pour the rest of the wax around it. Yes, Joy, you could, the way we do with the oranges in vinegar, you can do grapefruits in vinegar for your cleaning and have a grapefruit scented vinegar for cleaning. You can chop it in your food processor, chop it really fine in your food processor and use it for, then put it in a bag, a mesh bag, an onion bag or an orange bag or a grapefruit bag, and use it as a scrubber in your bathroom. That works too. What else can you do with them? I don't know what else you can do with grapefruit, because we have a grapefruit tree, but I usually just eat them because I like them. There we go. Deb says the same thing. Citrus cleaner. Soak the peels in vinegar for a citrus cleaner. Juice them and use the juice in a marinade would work, because the grapefruit is quite tart, a bit like a lemon or a lime. Would do the same job in a marinade. That would work. That would be really good too. All right, now. Okay, so other highlights of 20 years. Guys, so many. It's really hard. It was exciting. I got the phone call one day. I was sitting here, and I got a phone call from ABC Radio to do a chat. Yep, no problem. Happy to do that. And it went really, really well. That was back in 2004. Went really, really well. So they rang me the next week and we kept doing that. So I did that segment in Sydney for quite a long time, every week, 10 minutes once a week, quite a long time. Anyway, then I got a phone call from ABC Books, and I had been referred to them, and they wanted to know if I'd be interested in talking about doing a book. And I went, well, actually, I've done a couple of books, so that was the start of it, and that was Debt Free, Cashed Up and Laughing. That was the first book with ABC. Then the next one was Saving Money is Easy, and then Eat Well, Save More. But they all came about from a little 10 minutes once a week radio segment, which was really, it was a lot of fun. People ask the weirdest questions, strangest things. The funniest thing that's ever happened to me is if you download the tip sheet for the Cheapskates washing powder, it has on it, soap, laundry soap, and then I've got the any soap will do. Now, I had a contact us request from a woman who said she couldn't find any soap anywhere. Could I tell her where she got it from? Now, I actually thought that was my friend, Debbie, and I thought she was fooling around with me. So I said, well, look, I don't know, you find any soap at any supermarket, so if you can't find it, ask at the supermarket. So next thing I get this thing back from this woman who said, well, she'd asked at the supermarket and they'd never heard of any soap, and they looked it up and there was no such thing as any soap. So what was I doing putting any soap on the tip sheet? And I finally was talking to Debbie, and she went, well, it wasn't me. So we nutted it out. This poor woman thought any soap, ANYSOAP, was a brand of soap called Any Soap, which I guess, sort of makes sense because we've got Exit soap. So I thought, oh my goodness. So then I had to very, very humbly, I contacted her and apologized and said, look, when I say any soap, it's like bath soap, or save up the little motel soaps, the little guest soaps and things, whatever, as long as it's, the equivalent weight of a block of laundry soap, you're fine. And any soap that you like will work in the washing powder. Oh dear. Thank you, Vanessa. A bit exciting. I said to Wayne on Sunday, I said, it's August. Oh, do you know what month this is? He said, yes, it's August. I said, do you know what's important about this month? It's a horse's birthday. No, that's not what's important. He said, it's his brother's birthday and it's blah, blah. Went through a whole thing. No, 20 years ago, I started Cheapskates website 20 years ago. 20 years ago. I went, oh, really? It doesn't seem that long. It does not seem 20 years. Doesn't feel like it. If I'd started it right back we'd be coming up for 26 years. Because way back in Hannah was a baby, so 1995, and things were really tough for us. We'd no jobs. We had a mortgage. We had a preschooler and a toddler and a new baby, and it was just a disaster. No money. It was really, really hard. And my one thing, I had 3 things that I like to do. Playgroup once a week, CWA once a month, and church. They were my things. Otherwise we just never went anywhere. And because we just couldn't afford the petrol. It was like 50 cents a litre or 48 cents a litre or something. It was outrageously priced. So we couldn't afford the petrol. And because we were in the country, everywhere we went was a long way. So trips were planned. So I had playgroup. I used to really enjoy playgroup. But after a while, we just couldn't afford the petrol, let alone the $1 a week to go to playgroup. So we started doing playgroup at our house. Everyone came. We all took it in turns, watching the kids and coming up with an activity, and we all brought something for morning tea and shared it. And all these women knew what had happened to us. They all knew that we lost our jobs, that there was no work. But they were looking around, and nothing seemed to have changed in our home, because pretty much on the surface nothing had. I had learned to cook. We'd changed the way we shopped. We were growing a few veggies, not as many as we do now, but I was just learning. Nothing really had changed. I was sewing more because it was cheaper. But on the surface, our life looked the same. So just jokingly one day, one of the mums was on the back veranda, and she looked across and she said, "Oh, now I know how you do it." She said, "Because they're not really tomatoes in those buckets, are they?" And we all had a chuckle, because they really were tomatoes. Really, truly were tomatoes. We had a chuckle. And so I started telling them little things I was doing. Like, I had one shopping list. And every month I'd go and buy exactly the same, month after month after month, because I knew how much it cost. And if something cost more than the $200 I had for that month, it had to go back, and I had to find a cheaper alternative. I was talking about making muesli bars for the children because I couldn't afford to buy them. Little things like that. Making our bread, because it was cheaper back then to make bread than it was to buy it. Doing fake away instead of take away. Just little things like planning our trips. Like, I only went into town once a week. I'd go to town. It was a massive day, because it would be banking and post office and any other bills we had to pay. If I had to go to the doctor, that was the day. The shopping, everything was all in one day. It was a massive day, but I only went into town once a week, because that's all we could afford. I used to go on that day, I'd go home the long way, so that I would go around to the actual petrol depot, because the petrol was a couple of cents a litre cheaper out there than it was in town. So I'd get that, fill up the car with I think back then I had $15 a week for petrol, fill the car up, go home. That's how I did it. And that's, that I think back then was the start of sharing how to live the Cheapskates way. And then I was feeding Hannah one afternoon and watching TV, and there's this lady on TV, and she was talking about how she handed down clothes, and I do that, and how she cooked from scratch. And I didn't know what cook from scratch was, but then she explained, she made everything with ingredients, and I do that, and how she grew stuff, and I do that, and how she stopped buying brand names, and I do that. I don't buy brand names anymore, all generics in our house. And she had a newsletter. Now, she was in America. She had a newsletter that she was doing, and I could do that. I used to write the church bulletin, so I could do a newsletter, seriously. Experience, folks. And so I thought about it, but we had a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old and a new baby, no money. I didn't have any way of doing it because back then it was a type it up, print it out, staple it, fold it, put it in the envelope, stick the label on, stick the stamp on, send it out type job. So even if I'd had that much spare time, I didn't have the money to be able to do it. Not even to get started did I have the money. So I shelved that idea, but that was always in the back of my mind. And then when Lee rang and asked me if I'd come and do some work for her, she needed some help, could I go and do some work for her? And of course I just said yes. And off we go. And this was, 4 years later. And I said, yeah, happy to come work for you, not a problem. Because she said I could do it around school hours. Perfect. Hannah was at preschool, boys were at school. So I'd drop everyone off, go and do a bit of work, go pick them up, go home. And she had a company that was, she was building directories. Now, I don't even know if they exist in that format anymore, but pretty much it looked like a website, but it was almost a portal where other businesses could link into it, have their own page, whatever. And she was doing that. And she had a craft one, which I ended up running because that was my thing. And she had all different kinds. Pets, what else do we have? Heaps and heaps of them anyway. And that's when I sort of said, because I had this idea in the back of my head that I still wanted to do this newsletter. And we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And email marketing was just coming into its own then. The internet for home use was still dial up, plug it in, dial it up, you get the ding, 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 noise. Anyway, she rang me at home one day and she said, look, I've been thinking about it. If you still want to, I think I found a way, if you still want to do that newsletter thing, I think I've found a way you can do it without doing a newsletter. And I was like, I was out that door, so left Hannah with Mum, and I was out that door so fast. And I was there for 2.5, 3 hours. I went over it because I said to her, I don't know about websites. I don't know anything about them, Lee. I can't do it. And she said, well, it's pretty much what you've been doing. So we sat down, and in that couple of hours, we'd actually built my first website. Didn't have a very nice design on it, but the basics were there. And that's when I went home and said, hey, honey, I got a website. And that was the start of it. I can't think that, I can't think how our life would be different if that hadn't happened. I just can't, because it's become such a part of our lives now. And like I said before, it's just about taking over my life. Well, I don't do, okay, like today I was looking at recipes and I went, I can make that. Oh, that'd be a good recipe for a newsletter. I'm constantly thinking of things to put in places. So, joy. Kerry still does all her shopping bills, etc. on Monday. So do I, Kerry. And Joy says, for all of us, it's normal, but it must have been a hard change for you. It took me, I lost my job. Wayne lost his job. We found out on the Thursday, the Friday. The Monday, we found out we're having Hannah. It took me a good 6 months to get my act together when that happened. Well, for a start, I was pregnant and we had half a house and we had the money we had in the bank meant that we weren't eligible for any unemployment benefits. That ticked me off no end, absolutely no end, because at that point in time, between us, we had nearly 40 years of work where we'd worked full-time always. Neither of us had ever been unemployed before. We'd always worked, which meant we'd always paid tax. We'd always put into the system, and when we needed it, we couldn't access it. Ticked me off big time. If you ever wonder why I loathe Centrelink, that is why. Because we'd saved up to do the renovations on our house, we wanted to do an extension, add a room, put the laundry inside instead of outside, do a few bits and pieces. We had money in the bank. And that meant we were not eligible for unemployment benefits. And then, to make matters worse, because even if we had been, because we were paying a mortgage and not rent, we wouldn't have got as much as someone that was renting. And yet our mortgage repayments were more than double what rent was back then. Because remember, this is 1994, 1995, and interest rates were topping 18%. We had friends paying 21% on their mortgage. I think that might have been the worst tantrum I've ever thrown in my life the day that happened. It was a doozy. That ticked me off no end. So it took me a long time to get my head round things, Joy. But once I decided that I liked our life. I liked the way we lived. I liked being able to go out every now and then. I liked, being able to ski in the winter or go away for the weekend. I liked doing those things. I did not want our life to change. Wayne and I both have expensive hobbies. I liked, my hobbies. He liked his. I didn't want our lives to change. So I had to figure out what I could do so that our lives didn't change on the budget, on the money that we had. That's how I became a cheapskate. And I'm a proud cheapskate. I don't care. If people think it's a derogatory term, that's on them. I am really proud of the fact that we ditched the stuff. We were smart enough to ditch the stuff that's not important to us so that we'd have the cash to pay for the stuff that is. And for 27 years, nearly 27 years, that's what we've done. If we need something, we want something, we save up for it and we pay cash for it. Does it mean that we have to wait a bit longer? Sometimes, yes. Does that mean that in the waiting we change our minds? Sometimes, yes. And I figure if that happens, then we weren't meant to spend that money on whatever it was anyway. So I'm not bothered by it. But it also made me absolutely determined to be as financially self-sufficient as I possibly ever could be. And that's why I do what I do. That's why we live the way we live. It's why I'm determined that, if we were to retire tomorrow, we would survive. Would we survive the way we wanted when we were retired? Probably not. We'd have to make a few adjustments, but we would survive. I'm determined. I think that determination, that maybe that's what brought out the stubborn streak in me. Okay, so what did Joy say? There we go. That's it. Yes, she's the lady. She had a gazillion kids. Is that right? Sorry, that's a bit rude, isn't it? She had a lot of children anyway. And she think the thing that really caught my eye was she scraped the burnt biscuits, and I can remember feeding the baby and thinking, scrape the burnt biscuits. I've done that. And I still do it. Okay. Joy. We're not eligible for a pension after 50. Exactly. You know what? Be independent. You know how I say ingredients give you options? Be your own pension. Create your own pension. Put it into super, build your savings, become debt-free, work out how you want to live when you retire. Do you want to travel all the time? Do you want to be able to, do you want to join the golf club, and do you want to go out all the time? Do you want to do a cruise once a year or once every 2 years? Do you want to work out what you want to do, and then start living now like you are on the budget that you will need to. Give it a trial. You know how we say when you're expecting, when you first find out you're pregnant, you need to straight away start living on one income so you know what it's like? Do that. Start living on your retirement income now so you know what it's like, so you know what to expect, and so that you know how to tweak it so that you can enjoy your retirement and live the way you want to, but aim to be as financially independent as you possibly can. By all means, look, make me Prime Minister, and if you're over 65, I don't care how much money you've got in the bank, if you're over 65, you will get an age pension because you have worked and you have paid tax and you have added more than that to the economy of this country. But don't rely on it. Don't rely on it. If you possibly can, don't rely on it. If you are young enough now to boost your super and to really build your savings and to become debt-free, do it. Do it. It will pay off in the long run. It will most definitely pay off in the long run. Thank you, Sylvia. 6 children. That's not as many as I thought. Here we go. What's Joy said now? Exactly, Joy. See, we've talked about this, haven't we? Proud to be a Cheapskate badges. I might look into that. No, Kerry, I didn't see that. I can have a look at it. I'll look it up though. Beverly, I would too if I burnt it, but my toast is barely brown. So I have my toaster set at 2. I don't like dark toast. We do too, Joy. A few years ago, I did an exercise on, how much it cost us to live our lifestyle, and how much we would need to maintain our lifestyle in retirement. It's over on my blog, and we actually came in under budget. We came in as a couple. Our expenses as a couple were single moderate lifestyle. So I thought, we were way under the budget for a couple of moderate lifestyle, because seriously, I sort of figure our lifestyle isn't going to change that much. We sort of pretty much live, apart from, one gets up and goes to work, I don't think our lifestyle will change all that much in terms of cost once he retires. we'll still do the trips that we do, and we'll still, go away when we can and stuff like that. But it will still be planned the way it is now because we still have other commitments. No, Beverly, only a mad woman would stand for Parliament in Australia in 2021. You would have to be quite insane. I don't think I would make a benign dictator. No, it'd be my way or take a hike. I wouldn't do well in Parliament in terms of not rubbing people up the wrong way. And Delaney says, and we pay the Medicare levy and without using the public health system. Yes, we do. Okay. Yeah, no. So there you go. 20 years. A lot's happened. I have a lot planned. Well, I can't see me stopping doing this for a while. It's fun, folks. It's fun, It fills my day. Is that what I should say? It fills my day. Yeah. Now, Beverly's raised a good point here. If you can manage to own your home before you retire, you are way ahead. I should have Hannah here for this one. We keep hearing, especially the last 18 months, house prices are going through the roof. House prices are going, interest rates are at an all-time low. House prices are going through the roof. You can't, and to be honest, I would hate to be young and just starting out and trying to live in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane or even Adelaide or Perth or Darwin. Oh my goodness, don't even think about trying to buy a house in Darwin. Apart from the climate being revolting, house prices are atrocious. It's just that I don't like the humidity, folks. It is almost impossible. And then if you move out to one of our satellite cities, you go to Geelong, you go to Wodonga, Wangaratta, Ballarat, Bendigo, here in Victoria, just as crazy. Even as far as Warrnambool. We have friends in Warrnambool, and their daughter and her partner are trying to buy a house or a block of land. It is almost as expensive as it is in Melbourne. I think one house they showed us was about maybe $110,000 less than what they'd pay here in Melbourne. Now, I know that's not much when you say it quickly, but when you consider how far Warrnambool is from Melbourne or from Adelaide, it's a lot of money for a country town. Now, Hannah went east, and she kept going further and further away because she started, and it was expensive and expensive and expensive. So she had to go quite a way out to be able to find a house that she could afford. But, and this is something that makes a big difference if you are just starting out, So chances are your first home isn't going to be your forever home. So it doesn't need to have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't need to be the mansion. It needs to be your starter home. And so you pay less for it, you do a bit to it, wait a few years, get some equity in it, sell it, and buy up. But there's an expectation now that, every home has to have 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and what do they call this? A great room or a cinema room. And it has to have a deck and it has to have a double garage. That's not a starter home. So if you go in thinking about that, then you are going to be outpriced. It's just a fact. You're either going to be working for the rest of your life to pay it off, even at low interest rates, and interest rates will eventually go up, or you'll just never buy. We need to change the expectations, especially of first-time buyers. And they need to remember it's a starter home. And perhaps builders need to build more starter homes. And the new estates that open up need to have bigger blocks of land and put starter homes on them that can be easily extended in the future so that they become a better home, a second home, or a third home, or a forever home, like what used to happen. Instead of putting a massive house on the smallest block of land possible, where there are no options, where it has to be expensive, and then you're stuck with it. McMansions, that's right, Joy. I can't stand the humidity, Karen. This time of year will be fine. This time of year in the Territory is actually quite nice. But by October, a very, very short season for me for the Territory. Do not like the humidity at all. The same with North Queensland, far North Queensland. Have to go June, July, maybe into August is okay. Otherwise, I'm home. I used to joke that, it was so humid you could just feel the fungus growing between your toes. Don't like it at all. All right. Here's Joy again. She's going 1.5, not much land. No dining, small lounge, and the second living area was built-in back veranda. Our first house was 3 bedrooms. We were in the country. So that helped. And we had a beautiful, huge backyard and a really big front yard. It was an old house. It was built just after the Second World War. It had 3 bedrooms, and one of the owners had put built-ins in all the bedrooms. It also had 9-foot ceilings, and the wardrobes went right to the ceiling, so there would be me on the ladder trying to get up the top. It had 1 tiny bathroom. The kitchen was half the size of what I've got now, and I have a small kitchen now. We had a tiny little meals area that was just big enough for our round table and 4 chairs, and a lounge room. The laundry was outside. So in the middle of a Wagga winter, when it would be -4 or -5 or whatever, I'd be out there trying to scrub nappies, and it was just awful. But it's what we could afford. It had, for us at that time, it had the things that were essential. It had gas cooking, gas hot water, gas heating, and it had an air conditioner that worked. They were the essentials for us at that time. We were able to extend it. We painted. We ripped off some really ugly wallpaper, things like that. We were able to do ourselves. But we started small with something. We could have gone a couple of suburbs over and paid half as much again for a smaller block of land with a house that wouldn't have been any bigger in footprint but was newer. But then we would have had that much more mortgage to pay, and interest rates were atrocious. It was crippling everybody. So we started with what we could afford. We were driving back from Warrnambool a few weeks ago because we had been away, and we were driving back from Warrnambool, and as we were sort of coming around on the freeway around Geelong, we were looking up on the hill at all these huge houses being built, and they were right up on the fences, on both sides. And if you could see you could see the backyard, and they were right to the boundary. We talk about our kids not playing outside and not getting enough, being glued to games and computers and phones and things all the time. Is it any wonder? Because they can't get outside. There is no room outside for them to jump or do a handstand or play even totem tennis. So never mind. Yeah, we were up at 18. We had friends paying 21%, Joy. It nearly crippled them. Absolutely nearly crippled them. And they had 2 kids. We all had the kids together. Anyway, guys, 20 years of Cheapskates. Lots happened. Hopefully a lot more will still happen. I shall go because it's, 9:15, and I didn't even realise. Thank you for joining me tonight, letting me waffle on about my memories and fun times and whatever. If you like the show, not necessarily this one, but any of the others, please give us a thumbs up. And perhaps if you know someone that perhaps might like the show or like to know about Cheapskates, please send them the link, give them the link to this. We don't spam them, we don't bombard them with anything. They'll just get the link, and then it's up to them to click on it. And don't forget, new memberships, $20 for August. If you're already an existing member, I haven't forgotten you. Stay tuned. Have a great week, everyone, and happy cheapskating. Thank you again, and I'll be back next Tuesday. Bye.